are standing in front of the speakers and the screen from the house of Lakey, from the Lakey Entertainment Tower. Jimmy on the microphone, just like the Lord intended. He says the things you're afraid to say in your car, in your kitchen, in your soul today. Information and infotainment for your mind, for your soul. From the house of Lakey to your house. Right now, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice. We'll be glad in it. Jimmy Lakey.
All right, here I am, unleashed, unfiltered, and unashamed, Lakey from the House of Lakey. Welcome into the House of Lakey, everybody. The Lakey Unleashed Streamcast, podcast, broadcast. Glad to have you here. Hump Day feels like a Tuesday to me because I was off on Monday. Running a little bit late today, but that's all right. Lost a little bit of a track of my time here. In the show prep, producer Chad and I were having a meeting and said, oh, good Lord, it's time to start the show. So here we are. Appreciate your patience here. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Rich says good morning from a cool, rainy mid-Missouri. Still a great day. Seth, saw you there. Good morning to you as well. Pleasured, pleased, and thrilled to have all of you here. Some of the news stories we're going to get to today, all of our friends down in Texas, Tejas, the motherland. A big primary election yesterday. Some surprises, perhaps. We'll talk about some of the races there. If you're in the great state of Texas, the homeland for Brother Jimmy, please let me know if you voted yesterday, how it went, and are you surprised? Dan Crenshaw, he's the congressman with the patch on the eye. He gets defeated in a Republican primary. Jazzy Crockett, you remember old Jazzy? She's been kind of quiet lately. I thought of that the other day. Old Jazzy has been very, very quiet, and then guess what? Turns out she was running for Senate in Texas, and therefore she probably did not want to be seen talking, because if you hear her talking, you realize that the elevator doesn't go all the way up. She's not the sharpest crayon in the 64-count box. You get the idea. All of you Texans out there, all of my brethren and sistren from the great state of Texas, let me know. John Cornyn, big-time U.S. Senator, he's going to a primary. That's going to be a very vicious primary challenge, I guess, a runoff. Paxton, the Attorney General, nobody gets the nobody gets to over 50%, so there's going to be a big runoff. I think there's no love lost between those two. Paxton, I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Texas, but from what I remember and recall and study, Paxton is a little bit more on the MAGA side. John Cornyn is a guy that sometimes some people have called him a rhino. I hate the use of that word, but I'm just saying that's what he's been called. So if you're in the state of Texas, we'll take your comments on your big primary election that happened yesterday. But good morning, everybody. And we're also, by the way, big stories here. You ready for this? Daylight savings times is this Sunday. That's where we have to spring forward. You lose that hour's sleep. I want to talk about this because here in this great state of Colorado, our governor, the he's a wimp, is what he is, and he great fanfare a couple of years ago. We were going to get rid of it and just stay on we're going to stay on daylight savings. We're going to stay there. And but then he signed the bill and realized the bill said, no, only if a few other states do it, because Jared Polis is a coward. And Jared Polis doesn't want to stand up like a man, sits down to pee, I think, because he doesn't like standing up like a man. And so we're still stuck with this dog and pony, wind up the monkey, make him sing a song kind of transition every year to where you have to turn your clocks. It's ridiculous. Every state, every politician that does continues to this agitation and this stupidity of turning the clock backward and forward, you're unfit for office. You really are. Jared Polis should have gotten Colorado out of that routine a little bit ago. Even the Canadians are permanently switching in British Columbia. They're going to permanently switch. It says something how wimpy your governor is in the state of Colorado when the Canadians have more balls than you do. I mean, it's really rough, but the British Columbia is switching permanently this week to daylight savings times. I got a story for coffee drinkers out there. I am going to come back on my little tangent about why it's so dark on airplanes anymore. A lot of folks sounding off on that, getting a lot of messages, and there's some people that enjoy it, and I get that. You can enjoy the darkness. I say, you probably should go to church if you enjoy the darkness that much. You can enjoy the darkness on the plane. I'm guessing you can. Jeff's already commented on it. Airplane lighting. Good-looking stewardesses are only a light switch away too. Jeff, they're called flight attendants now. Just letting you know. What are you, 1964 there, buddy? No, it's a stewardess. I love when people call them stewardess. It's stewardess, and you know the flight attendant wants to smack you on the head because you're flight attendants. I don't know what happened to the word stewardess. Did it become bad? Well, a stewardess or a steward. You could be a male or a female. I don't know. Maybe it's whatever. I get it if you like the cabin dim. We talked about this yesterday. I'll show you some photos from my recent flights. But especially European overnight flights or flying to Africa, I get those. But when I'm flying to Dallas, a 1.5-hour flight, it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is pitch black in the cabin, and you could be sitting there butt naked and no one would even know it because it's so dark in there. That's wrong. And I'm telling you, it's a psyops. It's what it is. And they're just trying to keep you calm. And again, if you enjoy it, that's fine. But I want to know the method behind the madness. And I think it's about psyops and keeping people from, I think it's just the flight attendants don't have to do as much. They're lazy, they're unionized, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we'll talk more about that as well. All right. The Iranian Navy. You remember the song In the Navy by the Village People? Well, in the Navy, in Iran, in the Navy, the Navy is in the sea. I guess the entire Iranian Navy has been sunk by U.S. military actions. We'll follow up more on that. I guess they had 11. I heard the number 11, and I heard 17. And what they could be a confluence of the two different naval presence. I'm hearing that the Iranian we heard this yesterday, and I read it again last evening, that the Iranian Republican Guard there has their own kind of a Navy presence, and then there's the Iranian military. But the Iranian Navy is in the bottom of the sea, and probably one day shall be researched like they send submarines down to check out the old Titanic ruins. I'm not sure how many people were on the vessels, but hope they had a life raft or a life jacket because it got bombed to hell and back yesterday. Can you imagine? The videos have been coming out of they keep trying to get the Supreme Council together. The Supreme Council gets together, and every time they get the Supreme Council together, in through the window pops a missile, and the whole place blows to hell. So we know the first night of the first day of the bombing, they took out the top 49 officials in Iran. They asked President Trump, they said, who do you think is going to take over in Iran? He says, well, it's hard to say now because some of the people we had in mind that would take over, they got killed the first day. And then yesterday, they had another big Supreme Council meeting, and a missile comes through the front door, wiped out another wave of them. The Israelis have said overnight that every time you try to convene anybody that gets chosen as the next Ayatollah, you're going to have a target on your head. And I'm thinking by this time, they're probably realizing that that's going to be very true because the Israelis at least have said that they're not going to allow a hardline government back into that cesspool. I was talking yesterday to some friends, and I said, can you imagine they've knocked out the first 49, then they knock out the next group, and suddenly it's down to the youngsters. It's down to the young radicalized people. It's like a 26-year-old who's just started to shave a few years ago, and it's still kind of a child beard, or 21-year-old, and they're like, well, it looks like you're up. All the old guys are dead. And this young guy's probably going, hey, man, I barely can grow a beard, let alone turn it gray and look like a Gandalf. I can't do it. So I am guessing there's not a lot of people raising their hands, say, pick me. It's like the old kickball game. Please pick me. No, you're like, no, I'm the fat kid. You don't want me on your team. I am the fat guy. I can't play kickball. That's what they're doing right now in the search for the next Ayatollah. If they could get Iranian television back on, maybe there could be a show. I don't know. There could be a show. We could pick the next Ayatollah. We could bring Simon Cowell over. I'll judge. We could, I don't know, Carrie Underwood could go over, Luke Bryan, maybe Lionel Richie. We could do a judging show and we could figure out who the next person is going to be the Ayatollah. But they're asking a question all across Iran. Will the next Ayatollah please stand up? And I'm guessing ain't nobody standing up here real soon to volunteer for that job. And if you do, good luck. Vaya con Dios. And I hope you know you might. I hope that interpretation that you get the virgins was right, because I think it might have been you get Virginians and they have no teeth. West Virginia. I love you, West Virginia. I really do. Just throwing that out there for a little bit of fun today. All right. Jeff says, is it just me or the airline-sized liquor bottles getting smaller? I can't tell because it's so dark. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're ripping me off. Again, I was in the front of the plane, and I was row 5, and I showed you the photos yesterday. I pulled them back up. We limited photo space today, so I'll pull them back up here in a bit. And the lady walks around with a basket, and I see the people kind of in front of me taking like big things out. I think they're getting potato chip bags and stuff like that. By the time she gets to row 5, I can't see in the thing because it's all empty. She let it get wiped out. She's too lazy to go refill it. She should have gone to refill it and treat us like proper ladies and gentlemen. Lazy ass flight attendant, probably unionized or something. I don't know. And so she didn't refill it. So I'm digging around. I can't see it. And it's in a brown basket. And I've grabbed something, looks kind of reddish brown, but it's pitch black in there. Can't see the damn thing. I pulled it up and I'm like, well, and it was a little pack of almonds this big. And it's too dark. It just, nobody can see anything. It's pitiful. I don't understand it. I think it's laziness. I really, really do. So we'll talk more about that. Oh, by the way, I was thinking about this Iran thing. I get a question of the day, but think of this. People saying, why are we doing this 40? Why are we taking out Iran? Why are we doing this? Even some conservatives say, oh, God, we got in a forward entanglement again. If I've learned anything about President Trump, when the critics come out against him very harshly, I'm telling you that they're probably not telling you the truth. Donald Trump is not into a long, prolonged war. You can go back as long as you can find audio tape of President Trump, then Donald Trump, even as a young man in his 30s, talking about Iran, talking about foreign policy, talking about stupid wars we fight. And so I'm pretty confident that Donald Trump, especially surrounded by J.D. Vance and Peter Hegseth, who are a different generation and have seen the long wars created by Dick Cheney and George W. Bush and Barry Hussein Obama, they see all that. They're not looking for a prolonged conflict. I also can see the aspect, Chef Roger Cree yesterday talked about how it affects the war in Ukraine. It affects China. And so there are some positives here, but there's some people that are just being negatory about the whole thing because they think it's a foreign entanglement. I get it. We have bad taste in our mouth because of the Afghanistan and Iraqi war that began and lasted 2 decades after September the 11th, 2001. But here's the question. Think of this. We have, as Americans, kicked the can down the road for the last 47 going on 48 years. The Iranian mullahs and the Ayatollahs have been in trouble since the Iranian hostage crisis that began under the days of James Earl Carter. You might know him as Jimmy Carter. And it's been a problem. And I don't even know if there was ever any retaliatory strikes, even though Reagan's strength helped get inauguration, helped get the hostages free back in 1980. I don't even know if there was any retaliation. There's been so many things throughout the years. I read that somewhere about 700 Americans by just point blank have been killed by the Iranians. Lots of people by roadside mines and terrorist actions have been maimed and injured by the Iranians. For 47 years, every president has kicked the can down the road. They are the Ayatollahs, the radical Islamic groups there are cancers that should have been they should have been excommunicated and removed and exorcised from polite and decent, humane society. But instead, they've been placated. They've been propped up at the United Nations, part of the Civil Rights or the Human Rights Council. It is amazing how we have kicked this can down the road. And it's Donald Trump that says, why are we continuing to do this? We continue to, as a matter of fact, it's been kicked down the can of the road. Obama sent billions, that's right, billions of dollars that went to the mullahs and the Ayatollahs there and the radical Islamics. Joe Biden sent billions, I'm talking with the B, billions of dollars. If you think of the money that has been lost by corruption in, let's say, by the Somalia pirates in Minnesota, and then you take the billions that we've sent to the mullahs in Iran and the Ayatollah just between Obama and Joe Biden, I'm telling you, there would not have to be a lot of discussion about balancing the budget. We have squandered away billions of dollars to these nut jobs over there, and we continue to say if we give them billions, if we placate them, if we put them on a human rights council, then it's going to get better. It's absolutely positively ridiculous, and I'm glad that President Trump is no longer kicking the can down the road. I did see somebody post up a funny comment. The Israelis are good at Wackatola. Yeah. Will the next Ayatollah please stand up? And again, there's some 20-year-old that's been radicalized since he was a kid, and he barely can shave, and he's like, my beard's not gray enough. Don't pick me. And everybody's like, dude, you're the only one left. They keep sending missiles through the window. And the 20-year-olds, I don't want to be the Ayatollah because they're playing Wackatola. And I think that's a great line. I think Jim said that, great line, or whoever said it. Congratulations. You get the line of the day. All right, I'm going to go to my first guest of the morning. It's Kenneth Abramowitz. But I also want to ask you a question. This is a funsy question. It's just for giggles, and it's a fun one. And it is a question of, have you ever used an excuse to get out of something that you kind of go, that was a pretty good excuse. You remember the kid, the dog ate my homework? That was always a kind of a famous one people hear of. There's an online trend where people are going around and they are giving the, let's just say, funny excuses that they use to get out of work or other things. And here's some of the ones that are on the list. And I want you to comment among yourselves, and I'll go to Kenneth Abramowitz, and we'll come back and read some of these. Somebody left work said, I need to leave because the dog has locked my son out of the house. Somebody said that their parrot got out of the cage and's chasing my wife around the house. I got to go. Somebody needed to leave because their cat was having an existential crisis and wouldn't stop meowing. Somebody else said, I got out of work because a kid got a pea stuck up his nose. Somebody else said, I worked from home, but they said a coworker worked from home, but had to leave an online meeting because a squirrel had fallen down their chimney and was now running around the house. Here's one of my favorites. And again, good excuses, true or false, I don't know, but these are the excuses people have used. Someone walked into their manager's office and said, I got to go. My goldfish is drowning. And then they walked out of the office before the manager could really process the physics of that statement. And they were gone. Anyway, good excuses, great excuses, or funny excuses that you thought of or used, and or maybe they've been true, to get out of maybe work or to leave a meeting or something like that. Let's hear your best excuses. Run them up the flagpole and let's see who salutes them. A lot of you commenting, maybe the U.S. can rearm the new Iran with the military hardware that Joe Biden left in Afghanistan. That's it. We've kicked this can down the road so long, it's really kind of sad of how it is. How sad that we have kicked this thing. The Iranian hostage crisis was a response to a CIA-sponsored 1950 coup in Iran that put the Shah in power. Didn't happen in a vacuum. We are not innocent. Oh, I never said we are innocent. We have played with foreign policy way too much, but we have also, since the last 47 years, allowed these ayatollahs and mullahs to run roughshod over us and Americans. And, there's a lot of things that we could reprocess going back to 50s, 40s, whatever you want to reprocess them. But the fact is, we're here in the year 2026, and it's time that these guys have come to a reckoning. And if I were you, don't forget, if you're going to raise your hand up at the meeting and be the next Ayatollah, because they're looking for one right now. As Donald Trump said, he's even created job openings in Iran. I would not raise your hand. Don't raise your hand, because that missile could be going right there. Right there. Here's an excuse on YouTube. I can't go to work today because I'm the next candidate for the Shah of Iran. You could do that. I'm sorry. I can't come in today. I'm waiting by the phone because I might get a call to go to Iran and become the next Shah. That's from Highway Living on YouTube. All right, let's go to my first guest of the morning. Kenneth Abramowitz has popped into the green room, and he's, I'm sure, locked and loaded and got some things to say, because if you haven't noticed, there's been a couple of things that have happened recently that right up his alley, including saving Western civilization, SaveTheWest.com, and Kenneth Abramowitz in the studio. Kenneth, good morning. Welcome back.
Yeah, great to be with you as always.
Well, since we met last, we've talked about the threat of Iran, and it looks like the United States and our partner Israel have decided to take action. I don't think I have to ask too much to start off. I'll just get your thoughts here. What have we watched and what are we watching, sir?
Well, we're watching a spectacularly successful military campaign. Number one, we're watching a joint venture, in effect. They don't call it that, but I'll call it that. A joint venture between America and Israel to pick apart targets that each country is specially capable of attacking. For example, America is best at going after the Navy. So America should do that. America and Israel are both good at going after missile silos. So Israel's focused on the northern part of Iran. America's focusing on the southern part of Iran. So in Secretary Hegseth just said a few minutes ago that we have air superiority on the western portion of Iran, and within 5 days or so, we'll have air superiority throughout Iran. Once you have air superiority throughout Iran, that means you can blow up any target, anywhere, anytime by either of the two countries. So I would say so far, A++.
Yeah. The name of your book is called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. And I mentioned SaveTheWest.com. Let's go to that book, though, The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam. I know we have some threats of political Islam that has risen up in America, but it is amazing to me when you think of it. For 47 years, this Iranian regime has caused problems, hostages, murder, terrorist attacks. I mean, all this stuff. And for 47 years, America has kicked the can down the road on these the ayatollahs and the mullahs and all the bad stuff. What, looking back, how is it that we ever would kick the can 47 years down the road? Why do you think it took so long? This seems to be kind of an obvious thing, that this has been a thorn in the side of America and cost a lot of lives. And yet for 47 years, American presidents said, we'll just give them a couple of $1 billion and maybe they'll behave.
You're exactly right. It's governmental malpractice for 47 years. Now, I hate to say this, but it's malpractice for America, Europe, Israel, and all of Western civilization.
Yeah.
For 47 years, when this criminal organization took over, and took almost 50 of our diplomats hostage to start off their days of criminality, they've vowed to death to America, death to Israel. Now, death to America, America's a 90% Christian country. Israel's an 80% Jewish country. So what they were, in using religious terms, they were declaring death on Christians and death on Jews. Now, and they just happened to mention America and Israel, but they actually believed in killing Christians and Jews everywhere. And to throw in the Hindus, they would want to kill them too. We're talking about, as we've discussed before, an Islamo-Nazi death cult, and death cults kill. And for 47 years, our collective government said, "Oh, they don't really mean it. It's not really serious." And they spent 47 years building up armaments, in which we're now going to blow up in March, the month of March. Here, they spent 47 years building up every armament you could think of, and they're all going to get blown up in March.
It's fascinating that the Iranians launched missiles ultimately at American assets, but into Qatar, and they've attacked some of the people around them, even Saudi Arabia, and it looks like that's kind of galvanized some of those other Arab countries to backing America because they realized that Iran was not looking out for their best interests at all, and we're a threat to them. Talk about how Iran, in this process, has continued to isolate themselves. Even China and Russia not necessarily running to the rescue. And when they threatened to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, China says, hold on there. We may be your ally, but you got to let that oil flow through there. The Iranians, whoever's running the show or putting out the press release, just continues to isolate themselves, bombing their neighbors and threatening the oil supply in China.
You're exactly right. The war, by the way, is, I would say, in the second inning. So there's a whole bunch of innings left, and they will play out in March. But the regime is in the seventh inning of its demise, and it's not happy. Right? Here they were 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. They thought they were going to take over the world and kill everybody, and steal all the money, by the way, because that's what criminal organizations do. And now they're getting brutalized themselves. And so now they're just lashing out. So they're attacking everybody. And sometimes you get lucky in war, when your enemy does stupid stuff. In tennis, I'm not a tennis player, but they call it unforced error when you hit the ball into the net. So right now, Iran is going through a number of unforced errors. They're attacking all of their Muslim Arab friends, theoretically, but no, they're attacking them. They even attacked Turkey, which is another Islamist country, and they attacked Cyprus, which got the Brits involved. And so they're basically, in effect, by the way, would kill 90% of the population if they could, because the 90% of the people hate them. And the Chinese now hate them. Everybody hates them. And so therefore their days are numbered. And I think by the end of March, they won't be with us anymore. And then we'll move into April with regime change, which is another challenge.
Yeah, let's talk about the regime change. And we have not been good. We have been faulty and even guilty at times in meddling in too many events in other countries and trying to make them into a democracy like we are. And it hasn't worked out, regime change on our part. How do you see this playing out? Obviously, you have an unarmed citizenry that have been rising up in the streets against the mullahs and the Ayatollah. They're ready to have some self-determination, but they're unarmed. And you still have the Iranian guard that's out there, probably maybe minimized, but still willing to kill you for declaring freedom. How do we get the people of Iran, the traditional Persians, back in charge and not these radicals when the radicals are the ones with all the weapons?
That's right. Well, a whole variety of things can happen, both good and bad. Now, if bad things happen, by that I mean the Islamic Revolutionary Guards jump in and say, well, we got rid of the mullahs. We're not talking about religion anymore. We're just a criminal organization. We own 40% of the country, and we're now in charge, and we're going to kill everyone who's unhappy. That would be, we'd go from a bad regime to another bad regime, in which case America and Israel should just keep blowing them up. Now, how do we get to a good regime or a good government? By the way, there's no such thing as a good government, but let's just say something that we can work with and doesn't brutalize their people. By the way, my definition of good government is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for everybody. My definition of a bad government is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for 10% of the people, namely me, my friends, and my corporate cronies. So how do we get closer to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for everybody? Well, there's a number of ways it could happen. People could galvanize around the Shah's son. He's publicly said, I'm a transitional figure for a year or something until we put this Humpty Dumpty back together again. That's one alternative. A second alternative is certain nationalities within Iran. Iran's 50% Persian, which means that it's 50% non-Persian. So the Kurds and the Baluchis and other ethnic groups could say, I want either my own independent or country, or I want to be part of Iran, but sort of like an American state, where a lot of the power with federalism, a lot of the power can reside with us, but we'll still be part of the family of Iran. So, between America and Israel, we're going to help these wonderful, wonderful people figure it out and get freedom from the 10% of the people we're criminalizing them from the get-go.
Yeah. The name of your book is called, the latest book is called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. You're also the founder of SaveTheWest.com. It is amazing that America and Israel seem to understand the threat that Iran has been, and are finally going to stop kicking the can down the road here. But there's other people, allies of ours, that are not seemingly willing to, they want to kick the can down the road. Spain comes to mind. The United Kingdom has been a little bit hesitant to allow us to use some military bases, etc. It seems as if some of these Western countries, Western civilizations, don't understand what you write about in your book, that we have to save the West. It's a multi-front war. Is there any hope for these European jackwagons to wake up and realize that this is the threat is real, and saving Western civilization is a great need?
There is hope, but President Trump has to be involved because many of these countries, you mentioned Spain and England, are so far gone that they've basically been taken over by criminal organizations. Again, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for 10% of the population. That's my definition. And President Trump has to interfere. He already started to interfere with Spain. He says, I don't want to do any trade with them. Well, I mean, President Trump, as you know, likes to exaggerate and bluster. But if I were a business person planning a new factory in Spain, I would say, wait a minute. Or if I were going to make an acquisition in Spain, even a house, wait a minute. And so I think this will send a shock through the Spanish society. They have to get rid of the criminals running their government. Now, in England, the Brits also have to get rid of the criminals running their government. But the next election is not till 3 years from today. So I think President Trump should publicly say that we are no longer going to deal with the current government. We want regime change and we want new elections now. We don't want to wait 3 years. England's at existential risk. Europe's at existential risk. We're not waiting 3 years. We want this government gone. We insist on new elections starting now. I think President Trump should get involved in rogue countries, rogue democracies, not with military means. That's what you do for dictatorships. Yeah. But for rogue democracies, yes, he should use the moral weight of his great microphone to help destabilize Spain and British governments who are not acting in the interests of their own people or in the interests of America.
Al Jazeera.com has a story. Iranian foreign minister is asking China for help in de-escalating the war. How's that going to go? I don't see any de-escalation taking place. It's the genie is out of the bottle, and it will de-escalate when the United States and Israel decide to de-escalate. So give me your thoughts on the Iranian foreign minister asking China, please help.
Well, it's his only lifeline left. So I don't blame him for doing that, but he can de-escalate everything in 10 seconds. All he has to say is, we surrender unconditionally. That the war will end in seconds. But I knowing death counts, they don't surrender. Yeah. Secondly, I don't want them to surrender right now because we don't know who's going to take over later. So what we have to do is blow up all their military assets so that whoever takes over is no military threat anymore to anybody, including their own population, including their neighbors, including Israel, including America. So right now, bombs away, so to speak. They're not going to surrender in any case. They'll only surrender when they're all dead.
The name of your book, my friend, The Multi-Front War, it's very apropos and current to today's situation. Also, SaveTheWest.com, very needed organization and messaging there as well, saving Western civilization, not just from the threat of Iran, but from ourselves and our own stupidity. If folks want to get a copy of the book, talk about the book, and also SaveTheWest.com.
Yeah, there's two things people should do. One is buy the book. It's in its 4th edition. So it's what I did is I wrote the original book 5 years ago and then added a chapter, and added a chapter. So just buy the book and go right to the last chapter, which is Trump 2.0. People should also sign up for my public service website, SaveTheWest.com. There's a pop-up menu, sign up. I write an article every 2 weeks. They'll get the article. It's complimentary, and I hope they learn from it.
I might want to send that to the UK Prime Minister or somebody. Maybe he can go to SaveTheWest.com and sign up for something. That's right. The Germans and the Spaniards, they all ought to sign up for this, and maybe they can learn something. Read the book. Send it to your favorite politician that doesn't seem to understand the multi-front war, defending America from political Islam, China, Russia, pandemics, and racial strife. That's the book by Kenneth Abramowitz, and also the name of the organization, free newsletter, and just sign up there and learn a lot at SaveTheWest.com. Mr. Abramowitz, appreciate you hopping on again. Thank you very much. We'll talk again.
It's great to be with you anytime.
You got it. Kenneth Abramowitz, SaveTheWest.com. Thousands of earballs will hear and or see this show by the end of the day. By the way, don't forget, go to Spotify, go to iHeart, go to Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcast, and make sure, even if you're watching this live, go like us and share us there. It helps the algorithms. The more you like, the more you share, the more you comment, the more you get through the Silicon Valley algorithms that try to block certain types of speech. So we always appreciate you. Even if you're watching on the Facebook, like us on the YouTube. Some of you watch on multiple platforms to help us out. If you're on the Twitter, feel free to share it out right now with your feed and let everybody know, hey, I'm watching Lakey Unleashed live from the House of Lakey. I'm sure you want to tell people that. You probably do. Hey, real quick, I want to remind you about Sherry Krieg, great realtor extraordinaire. And now is the time, if you're in Colorado, to start kind of, maybe even late, you're late in the game here. If you're thinking about a real estate transaction, buying or selling a home this year, you really need to start that conversation as soon as possible with Sherry. Now, I know you say, well, we use this. We have a family realtor. They live next door. This little person we all use. Listen, it's survival of the fittest here, my friends, and it really is what's going to be best for you. If you play real estate right, especially in Colorado the last many years, you have ended up creating something that could be generational wealth. You just got to do it the right way. I want you to have Sherry as a part of your conversation. Don't just assume you're going to go with the same realtor that always has to sign up down the street. You need to interview realtors that are getting it done in the game. Remember, 70% of realtors nationwide did not do any transactions last year. So why would you want them to do your transaction this year when they're really not in practice? They're really, they may have a shingle and a business card to hang on a wall. That's all they got. I say that with all deference and respect. You need to have a realtor that's in the game and understands the nuances of the market, because you're in the market every day. If you're in Colorado, the I-25 corridor, up and down, north-south, you want to go out west towards Boulder on Highway 36. Maybe you want to head out on the tollway, or however you want to get to Aurora. God bless you if you do. Parker, if you want to head up north up to Fort Collins, Windsor, Wellington, that I-25 corridor, you owe it to yourself and for your financial future to call Sherry for that real estate. If you're looking to buy, she can help you figure out what the market's looking like, when the best time to be is going to be a buyer's market according to the market. And also, if you're a seller, there are certain windows of opportunity that if you sell during that window, you're more likely to get more dollar for your home, even tens of thousands of dollars more than someone in the same neighborhood, same floor plan gets a listing at another time. Understand the nuance. It's more than just a sign of the yard. It is a partner here that's going to help you create that generational wealth and make the real estate transactions of your dreams come true. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, and you be sure to tell her, call her today and just say, hey, I heard Lakey talking about you. I'd like to have a conversation, because here's what you're doing. Just have a conversation, get part of that interview process, and make sure you have the right person on your team. Homeswithsherry.com. All right, the great state of Texas is always well represented on this show. Not just me, as a native son born in Dallas, Texas. Thank you, and you're welcome. I know you missed me down there. I didn't think I'd be here so long. It's been a couple of decades, and I'm still here. But big news coming out of Texas. John Cornyn, sitting U.S. senators, going into a runoff there with Mr. Paxton, the Attorney General. That's going to get down and dirty. Watch out for that one, Texas primaries. Dan Crenshaw, this is an interesting one. If you don't follow Texas politics as well, Dan Crenshaw is the congressman that has the eye patch because he was wounded in battle. And Crenshaw told the Houston Chronicle ahead of Tuesday's primary, oh, don't worry, my relationship with President Trump is good. But it evidently wasn't good enough to get an endorsement. He's a 4-term congressman from Texas, lost a Republican primary battle last night to Steve Toth, who is a state representative and businessman. And this is years of turmoil between Crenshaw and the MAGA faction of the Republican Party that always questions Crenshaw's loyalty to Trump. The second congressional primary ended Tuesday. It evidently draws a sharp line within the Republican Party of Texas. Crenshaw was not formally endorsed by President Trump or Greg Abbott, the governor. Senator Ted Cruz endorsed Toth, the opponent, after he got into a tiff with Crenshaw at the airport over whether the senator was working against the representative's reelection. They had evidently a little sparring at an airport, and Ted Cruz says, I endorse Toth, and Toth comes out ahead. Ahead of the Tuesday primary, Toth said he was a more loyal conservative, compared Crenshaw to a version of Liz Cheney. Ooh, those are fighting words in Texas. And he found himself at odds with the voters last night. That was a big surprise. Also, another big surprise, maybe for some people in Texas, the most recognizable name was Jazzy Crockett. Jasmine Crockett went down in a blaze of glory in a U.S. Senate primary for the Democrats, and evidently she's not taking loss very well. She appears to have discovered election irregularities because she lost one. She finally lost an election Tuesday night as Dallas County began to look grim for the firebrand Democrats. She couldn't even win her home county, and she didn't concede gracefully. She took a page out of the very book she's been condemning. She blamed it on cheating and Republican tactics, and then the chaos, and then she stormed out of her rally where she was supposed to concede graciously. So all of the years she said that stop talking about stealing elections. Elections can't be stolen. We don't steal things. We don't cheat. And then old Jazzy got her panties in a bunch last night and stormed out of the rally. And she says, well, I encourage each and every one of you to remain to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior that kicked my ass, basically, to be rewarded, because as long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, they will continue to do it. I'm asking you, I'm begging you to make sure, go ahead and figure out where it is that you're supposed to vote. Stand in line and wait to line. She basically said that people were oppressed in the Democrat primary and they weren't able to vote, and that's why she didn't win. So Jasmine turns out to not be a very good sport when she decides to lose, or she ends up losing. All right, glad to have all of you here on the program. I want to go to my next guest, Mr. Dennis Neal. You've been a friend of the program. You might recognize him from his writings on some of the great publications out there, maybe for years on CNBC, but on Fox Business as well. He's our guest. But don't forget, our question of the day is that question of what's the best excuse you've ever used or heard to get out of something, get out of work. I called in irresponsible bum. The boss laughed. I don't know what that means. I called. Okay, Jeff says one of the excuses, my toilet is overflowing. I have to go home and get a plumber. That could be a legitimate one. The people there's a whole thing online, and people said, one person said, my friend's dog died. They said, are you going to go comfort her? No, but I need some time to process this myself. And they left work early. On the forum where they're commenting on this, a guy called out because he got lost in the woods all weekend. He didn't get back to 4 a.m. Monday morning. I can't come to work. I was lost in the woods all weekend. Didn't get home to 4 o'clock this morning. Need to take the day off. I love the one that the cat's having an existential crisis won't stop meowing. I have to go home. And somebody said on the forum they couldn't come to work because their reflection looked judgy that morning, and they needed a mental health day to repair their relationship with the mirror. I think that was Delilah. Yeah. All right. Welcome to the program, everybody. Good to have you here. We are going to come back and we're going to do this conversation about how wrong many of you are to get on airplanes and not raise the shades and let light in. Again, my experience the last couple of days and last many flights that I fly a lot, and I'm telling you that they're keeping the cabins darker and darker. I think it's a psyops operation. I'm telling you, it was 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. I was on a flight to Dallas from Denver, hour and a half flight, hour and 20 minutes, and it was so dark in there. I was sleepy, so I took a little nap. But flying home on Sunday, 4:30, 5 o'clock, we get on the aircraft, and once we take off, it's pitch black. I could not see a thing. The little blue lights, and then I turned on my light. It lit up like a beacon. It blinded me. It's awful. I think the flight attendants are just getting lazy. Some of you like the darkness. I say don't do that. You should like light. Light is good. It's healthy. So we're going to talk about that. If you get on the planes and don't raise the blinds, I should punch you in a very loving and gentle way, but I should. Don't do that. Overnight flights to Europe, I've done that. That's fine. But it's dark outside. You can keep the blinds open there as well. All right, Dennis Neal's waiting in the green room. He probably has, I don't know, maybe he keeps the blinds closed and now he may be offended and leaving the green room. Dennis Neal, welcome to the show, sir.
Great to see you, Jimmy Lakey. It's a glorious day. I'm happy to be alive. I was just listening to you talk about Jazzy Baby, Jasmine Crockett. And do we know, I didn't have a chance to look this up yet. Did she leave her seat in the House so that she could run for the Senate, or is she still going to be in the House?
We're still going to be gifted with her in the House. She was not she didn't go all in on this Senate seat, so I believe she's still going to be there.
You know, she's a big critic of President Trump, one of the biggest, one of the rudest. Yeah. And for her to lose the Democrat primary, wow, if the media, had a fairness to them, they might want to look at whether that's a win for Trump. Because you mentioned another race there where Crenshaw, eye patch congressman,
Yep.
thank you for your service, sir, ousted an incumbent, which has so much power, ousted in favor of someone, and with Trump, no endorsement there. So both of those are kind of, I think, maybe strong symbols for Trump. What do you say?
I agree. And John Cornyn, a sitting U.S. senator who was talked about being the Senate Majority Leader, got beat by Thune. But Cornyn's going to a primary to defend his Senate seat that he's held for a long time. And he's getting a primary challenge in a runoff with Paxton, who's been the Attorney General. And a lot of the, quote, MAGA crowd, the Trump crowd, really likes Paxton. And a lot of folks have called John Cornyn a rhino. So it seems as if John Cornyn could be in trouble here as well. That would be a victory for Trump as well.
Texas, Oregon, because my next book is Oregoners, how what one state's failed liberal policies are driving it off of cliff. New York, California, all are riven by this split between the heavy populated urban areas, the wider spread out rural areas. Trump won, I think it was 2,500 counties in the election he lost to Biden, and Biden won only 550 or something like that, I think are the numbers. But it's just the densely populated areas. And you see that split showing up everywhere, and it's showing up in Texas because you have super liberal Austin. In Oregon, people are really angry down in the rural areas of the timber country destroyed by green Tifa regulations, right? But you have this densely populated Portland metro area, 2.5 million of the 4.2 million population that just dominates the place. And they're blinded and brainwashed, and they keep voting for the same Democrats over and over and the same failed policies. And in Texas, maybe they're waking up.
Yeah, we'll see every year. I'm a native son of Texas, and I always kind of smile. People say Texas is going to go back blue because there's been so many Californians that have moved in there. I'm telling you, I think that's a media-led story. They thought that Beto O'Rourke was going to be the next savior, and he got his butt kicked every time. This Tallarico, I guess, I don't know anything about him. I don't follow it, but it's interesting to see that what is happening. And yeah, Austin and even Dallas. I think the mayor of Dallas has now come out and switched parties as a Republican. So I don't assume that Texas is going to go red anytime soon. That's my opinion, but I don't live there.
Go blue. Go blue anytime soon.
Go blue. Yeah. Go. Yeah. I don't think it'll happen.
One more red with this, would be nice.
Let me switch gears here a little bit. You've been in the media for a long, long time, and I want to talk about the misinformation that is out there regarding the war in Iran. We have Hillary Clinton actually campaigned, if I become president, we're going to bomb the hell out of Iran. And now all of a sudden, the media is forgetting all of these statements by Democrats for years about take care of Iran. Iran's a problem. And it's like they're writing a whole new narrative. We have don't really have a lot of real journalists left in these major networks, do we? It's like they're propaganda machines for a party rather than the truth of what's happening here.
Oh my gosh. Let me come at this a couple different ways. You're so right about this. Okay. Now, okay. Point one, because I said this to a guy in his 70s yesterday. I was asking about it. I said, am I just imagining this, or wasn't there a time when maybe say 30 or 40 years ago, when the U.S. troops are in harm's way and in the middle of an assault, you pipe down and you wait. You don't come out and condemn it instantly within hours, the way the Democrats did here. Okay, then you have the media, which they're so all in against this. I mean, okay, my beloved Wall Street Journal, I worked there 16 years, long ago. Okay, stripped across the top, Royals markets. You read in the fifth paragraph, the Dow, it fell 1%. Oil should have really spiked. It's up less than 5%. And then you see the Journal here, front page, Trump's case faces growing scrutiny. Guys, we're like 3-4 days in.
Yeah.
You're a little early on that. Now, that's one kind of misinformation. But another thing is what the media doesn't cover, Jimmy. Now, I was given a topic, misinformation. So I looked it up and changed it in the search to disinformation. And there are videos on the social media platforms, especially X, because it's the single most important platform in the world, showing Iran successes, boom, striking the Lincoln. Now, all of these videos are fake, and they're AI, some of them. Some of them are, you do a Google reverse image search, you send the photo into Google, and they end up finding out, oh, that's from a battle in 2014. And that's happening a lot from pro-Iran accounts, from probably Iranian government accounts. That's a great story, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I read it on BBC, French TV, CTV, foreign outlets. Then I did a search on both Google and Grok. Have U.S. media outlets covered this? None. Not even Fox News or Newsmax have covered this story that the foreign outlets are doing. And the story makes the fakes make Iran look better. And our own media aren't covering that the fakes are making Iran look better. Our own media are against this. I don't think Fox News and Newsmax are included in that because Trump is doing this.
Yeah.
It's so sad to see he broke them. I don't recognize him anymore.
Yeah. The voice of Dennis Neal, and a veteran journalist who anchored at CNBC, Fox Business, had senior editorial roles at the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and spent a decade analyzing how the media narratives are built and distorted and weaponized. You know, I'd like to think that there's just some crazed news reporter or assignment editor kind of spinning it this way. But I think some of this is nefarious. We have to be very careful about foreign players spinning these stories and playing our media as puppets. And sometimes it's not just, I'm afraid that it's not just a journalist that hates the orange man, but could it be that foreign actors are playing the media and they're actually being used as puppets of foreign propaganda?
Sure, I believe so, and especially just with accounts on X, and kind of wearing masks. And I'm sure that the government does that. Maybe they do it even more than our own spooks do. China is very active in that. I mean, China has surveillance of Chinese people here, going after them and trying to retaliate if the people here speak up and criticize the Chinese Communist Party. And social media platform is a place for all kinds of manipulation. I get really nice DMs from very good-looking blonde photographs. Women who, hey, how's it going? And you click on when they first joined the platform because X added this feature, and you see, oh, from Nigeria. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think you got to have that instant scrutiny and doubt, right? Instantly, you think this is probably bull. Let me do a reverse image search and see if it's authentic. The other thing is I go on X and I'll see a post and then I'll just ask Grok right away, hey, is this authentic? And Grok's able to analyze the video and tell you this is AI faked or this actually came from a decade ago. It's quite good. And I think that all of us have to be far more doubtful on first sight for what we see.
I said this yesterday. I think it's Fox or News. One of the news sites had a story about polling because, we're 24, 48 hours in. You see these polls. 59% of Americans don't like this. 59% of Americans do like this. And the whole story was these networks, they flash on the screen the poll numbers, but they're not telling the details of the poll. How they ask the question is basically how you get that top line to adjust up or down. And polling can also be used for propaganda. A lot of folks fall for this.
I think more than ever before. And I had a guy on, he runs Rasmussen Polls, okay? His name's not Rasmussen. But I had a guy on my podcast, What's Bugging Me, to talk about this. More than ever before, polls are propaganda. They are aimed at shaping opinion rather than reflecting it. And you've got all kinds of gamesmanship going on. And it even ends up working into economic forecasting. And look at the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. Every month, the markets watch that. Are consumers feeling good? Are they feeling bad? But when you dive into the survey, you see that it's so manipulated by political gamesmanship that Democrats, because inflation's running about 2.5%. Okay, so Democrats, what's your forecast for inflation in the coming 12 months? 6%. Well, that's a stupid estimate. You don't believe that. You're just saying that because you're trying to rig the poll. Republicans, what do you think is the outlook for inflation? 0.6%. That's an order of magnitude difference in those two outlooks, and neither one of those outlooks is real. And they're just gaming the system, and they're just, sparked by their own political biases. So more and more, the polling just is so suspect, and it's just aimed with the way it's angled and with the way the balance is set up of respondents. I think it's just rigged, a lot of it.
Everybody's got to be careful. You got to source your news properly and make sure that people that are reporting to you are giving you a fair and honest take on things. I admit that I have a bias, but I'll also try to be fair and not try to pretend that I'm an all-out journalist all the time. I do report the news, but I admit my bias. Unfortunately, a lot of the big networks and newspapers pretend they're journalists, but they're actually just biased. They don't have the courage that you and I do to say, "Hey, I'm expressing an opinion here." They're hiding behind it.
Right. They want the appearance of objectivity, which there is none and hasn't been for a long time.
No.
I always say, at least I use fact-based opinions, and I clearly state what my views are and that they are views. But these guys continue to feel they are sacrosanct. They continue to feel like they're in the church, and they just aren't. They are lapdogs and shills, many of them.
You have a new book coming out called Organers. We'll talk more about that in a second. But you have a podcast called What's Bugging Me, and you alluded to it earlier, and you heard me a little bit talking about something that's bugging me, Dennis, and I want to get your take on it. It's bugging me a lot. Fly weekends a lot. I fly to Africa a lot. And anymore, I get overnight flights. You should do. I was in seat 5E on Sunday. I got on the plane about 4:45 from Dallas, coming back to Denver. And when the lights were on, that was the cabin. That's my POV. I'm right there in 5E. I'm looking right there. I'm there. And by the time we took off, nobody had opened their blinds up. And this is what I saw. That's the same view. They turned out the lights. And you had to turn on that beacon over your head, and it blinds you, and you're looking at your screen, and your eyes are all wonky. And even looking behind me at 5E, that's looking behind me. It's 4:00 in the afternoon, 5:00. I think it's a PSYOPs operation or something, Dennis. It's bugging me, and I want to get your take on it. Why are we keeping these flights so dark anymore? Do you have any answers for me? Because it's bugging me.
I'm shocked that if this is a personal choice, that it should be so overwhelmingly to shutter the place. Yeah. I mean, isn't there a song, "Let the sun shine in, the sun shine in," and it's in the daytime, Now they do ask you, when you're landing, "Oh, please put those shades down for us," because spare the crew from having to do it themselves. But I kind of agree with you on that. I think you're a little more exercised and upset about it than I would be. But also, did you keep your one blind open, or did you shut it?
I'm on the aisle seat, and the lady there, she had the blind closed. Now, I had mercy on her. She had just run a marathon, and she was very tired. But I'm like, "You're asleep."
Did you ask her?
No, she was sound asleep. I'd have to wake her up. I'd have to wake her up.
Did you ask to open your blind?
No, so by the time she sat down, I realized the blinds were all down because the lights were on. And then by the time the lights go, she should open. Oh, she's sound asleep. She's drooling and snoring. I didn't do that.
Yeah, the next time this happens, I think that you should early on just stand up in the aisle and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, I implore you, let the sun shine in. Please open your flipping windows, please," and see what goes on. They'll escort you off that plane so fast.
I'll tell you, here's how evil I'm exercising this, how evil these people are. I was in flight coming back from DC one day to Denver, and I was in that same seat, I think 5E. And when I walked on, I realized that Nancy Pelosi herself was sitting in the seat in front of me. She's in 4E.
Wow.
I didn't kick the seat or anything. I took a photo. I don't have it handy, Delilah. If we have it, we can put it up.
Business class?
Yes, this is right up at the front of the plane.
And
so Nancy's in front of me, and Nancy had her windows open. You're so bad, even Nancy Pelosi recognizes the need for sunlight. If anybody's going to sleep in darkness, it's Nancy. But no, it's Nancy Pelosi right there. Her shade was open. So all of you keeping your shades, you're worse than Nancy Pelosi. There, I'm shaming people.
Did you have security with her?
Yeah, they were sitting behind me. They were in the They were there, and she did. And here's what kind of creeped me out. I don't want to be personal, but it's kind of bugging me. She got up and she was reading the newspaper, and she got up to go to the restroom in the front of the plane, and it just so happened I needed to go to the restroom as well. And so I'm, kind of waiting my turn to get into the little toilet area. And she comes out of the toilet area and holds the door open for me so I can step into the little water closet there. And then I realized if I touch that toilet seat, I know where it had just been.
But here's the thing, two things in a row where you're unable to hate her. First of all, she's a shutter opener. And with that, there's common ground. And now she's showing regard. I mean, shoot. Here's the thing. I might have told you this. I do repeat stuff, but I'm going to do it anyway because some of your listeners may not have heard it. All right, you know the Stockholm Syndrome where a hostage begins to sympathize with the hostage taker. Oh, gosh. But there's this other syndrome. I don't know what it's called, but you can meet the worst person in the world, like Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump. Yeah. I met Donald Trump twice before he ever ran for president, years before. And I just loved him because he was nice to me. Yeah. My personal experience was that he was a good guy. He, wanted to meet me in the green room at NBC. Hey, how you doing? And then he introduced me to someone else. And then he sat next to me at a little dinner of 6 people. And he's asking us all about ourselves. And so I just loved him. So you can meet someone that other people think is the worst person in the world. But if they were nice to you, I will defend him to the death.
I had people. I didn't post on the social media that I was sitting behind Nancy Pelosi while we were in air because people were making some bad comments, and I'm like, I'm going to get pulled off this plane. I posted it after the fact, but the fact that now you mentioned she kept her shade open and that she held the door open to the toilet room for me. If Donald Trump can go on Mount Rushmore, Nancy should go on Mount Flushmore.
Yes, there you go.
Sorry.
Nancy, I just despise her politics, but that she's still going and refusing to just give up and just bail out and I kind of admire the sustenance. Yeah. Of course, I don't admire the insider trading that let her become worth, I think it's more than 150 million or something, maybe.
Yeah, she didn't share any of that on the flight. The only reason she was flying commercial is it was election season and she was actually going to a fundraiser up in Aspen, so she had a connecting flight to get to, but she flew commercial, I think, for election season because I don't normally think she's out with us swills in the commercial airline industry. Yeah. But yeah, that's what's bugging me. I got it off my chest. I feel like I should have laid down on the couch to tell you that, but I'm good. Yeah. I really am good. Dennis Neal, let's talk about the book Oregoners, with a lot of people that probably think Nancy Pelosi should be on Mount Rushmore, live in Oregon, and they've taken that state down a really negative way. Talk about the book coming up, Oregoners.
I'm so excited because I'm literally writing it as we speak. I want to finish it by the end of March and get it out as fast as possible because it is just breaking news with this every day. And one reason it's worth looking at is because Oregon is a canary in the coal mine for all blue states and blue cities, in that you've got one metro area, only 640,000 people, down 20,000 in a decade. Portland, 2.5 million metro area around Portland, 4.2 million state population. So they dominate. They're 65% of the media market. So things happen there. An incubator for democracy and experiments. So in 2020, they vote to legalize basically all hard drugs. It leads to fentanyl deaths up 1,500% in a matter of 3 years. They've got $1 billion a year in jobs leaving the Portland metro area. They've got the highest taxes, or second highest, of any city in the country. They've got a police department that is down to 1993 levels, despite a 40% increase, I think, roughly, in population in that time. And they have had their arrests are down 25 or 35% in a decade at a time when their violent crime rate is up 154% in the same period. And yet the legislature voted in 2021, let's let a lot of crimes, hundreds of offenses, become no bail, no judge hearing, just instant release. They've got a jail shortage where the reason they have a jail shortage is because in 2005, they spent $58 million to build a jail. They couldn't afford the $10 million a year to run it. So they kept it empty for the next 10 years at a cost of $300,000 a year. Later was sold and turned into a homeless shelter. So you got you want to shelter the homeless, but you don't want to jail the guys who do bad stuff. It's just a mess there, and it is a perfect case in point example for what can happen when the Democrats have a supermajority and the same people get reelected, not based on results and outcomes, but instead based on intent and moral turpitude. No, turpitude means bad morals, right? Moral something and high morals.
Oregon, about the time you hear all that stuff, I say, yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't know if you've heard this. Our Colorado state legislature is considering a bill that would basically legalize prostitution and sex workers all across the state. It's actually a legitimate bill going through the Colorado legislature. That is, again, what happens in these states where Democrats get super majorities. It's actually being given a serious look that we would not, certain counties, not pockets, not give local municipalities the ability to be like Nevada, that you could have a brothel county or something. No, the whole state, it would be legal for sex workers to, let's say, practice their trade.
Well, let's think of the impact of that. First of all, you're going to have an awful lot of exotic dancers who are Trump fans because of the no tax on tips. There's that. And I mean, it's an interesting debate. There's another side to that says, look, it's already going on. It's almost like the entire legal gambling wave. It's really taking business away from illegal gambling that was going on anyway and siphoning off. And the same with legal pot. So with legal prostitution, where it's, don't they say it's the oldest or the second oldest profession or something? I never got that joke. I always want to know
what the first one was. I don't know.
Look, I think overall, personal freedom. Yeah, but places like Oregon and Portland, they take it too far. It's this bodily autonomy. And, by golly, if you want to be a heroin addict, you have the right to be a heroin addict. If you want to have an abortion in month 9, you have a right to that. In New York, bodily autonomy and free will got 18 people frozen to death on the streets in the huge winter storm, the one before the blizzard, most of them homeless. In my 43 years in New York, I never saw 18 people freeze to death in a storm. And it's in part because Mayor Mom Donnie, Mom Donnie, told the police, if they want to stay on the streets, don't arrest them as a danger to themselves and force them inside. Let them, stay where they are. Yep. And so they died. And sometimes, even though I'm a conservative and I want less government, sometimes you do need a few things to protect us from ourselves.
Absolutely. The podcast is called What's Bugging Me. The name of the book is Oregoners. Dennis, if folks want to follow you, learn more about you, where do they go, sir?
I have a miraculous story, Jimmy. My Twitter account, at Dennis Neal, K-N-E-A-L-E there. My Twitter account was silenced permanently. My every appeal was refused. They told me you can't even open up a new account ever again. You could only watch and not say a word or repost or comment. And it was absolute hell for 4 weeks. And then out of nowhere, it's restored without explanation, without telling me what I did wrong so I could not do it again. I think I might have been one of thousands accounts. It might have been all been automated. I have no idea, but I'm back on X, the most important media platform in the world, at Dennis Neal. Follow me. It will change your life.
I had that same thing happen in the COVID days. I thought I got banned for the COVID comments that I made, and suddenly one day it just opened up again. But that was before Elon bought the thing, too, so I don't know what happened. So at Dennis Neal is right there on the screen. Follow him on X. And Delilah, make sure, I think I follow him. I got to make sure. But I haven't paid attention because he's been banned. But now I'm going to follow Dennis every day and do it. Dennis Neal, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you hopping on here. Follow him on the X machine and get ready for that new book. And I kept him over time. I pay him double. Whatever we paid him, give him twice that, because we kept him longer than I told these publicists that I would keep him. But they know that I do what I want. I make the rules up around here. It's the House of Lakey. All right. Have I shamed any of you? I want to see a couple of things of the airlines. I need the people to stop wearing their pajamas, and I need people to also lift their shades up. If you get on the plane and don't lift your shade up, remember, you are worse than Nancy Pelosi now. And I know firsthand, I saw Nancy on the plane. Ray says on the YouTube, after seeing Pelosi, did you check to see if you had your wallet? You know how leftists love our money. I don't think my wallet would appeal to her because it's not that big. But if I could have offered her some insider trading stock tips, that might have appealed to San Fran Nan. Arloa, you're a saint. I always open my shade. I want to look out the window. If you don't open your shade, I want to throw you out the window. Open your damn shade. If you want darkness, hello darkness, my old friend, put the eye mask on. They sell those at the gift shop there at the airport, the little newsstands, they sell those. Do that. I'm a little exercise. Dennis Neal's right about this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, I mentioned Sherry Cree, and we always appreciate her. Don't forget Friday's show. She'll be on the program talking about some real estate topics, and I think you will enjoy that conversation. If you miss a portion of any show, don't forget to go back and listen to the audio version on the, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, thank you. Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to fine podcast, you can... anywhere you listen to the fine podcast, you can indeed listen to this show and listen back. You can go back every Friday, hear Sherry Cree. Every Tuesday, you hear the Laura Carno segment. Most Fridays, you hear the, what's his name? Doug Giles, my brother from a different mother segment. Jay Ratliff is on the Thursday show. So a lot of things, if you missed the show, go back and listen to it. And if nothing else, while you're sitting at the cubicle today and you need to, if you want to just listen to me, and I will soothe your soul while you pretend to work at the workplace today. All right, Rivers Promise is the charity work that I'm involved in. I started it. And ladies and gentlemen, I always want to just give you opportunity to participate in what we do. Education is our top priority. Education is the ladder that a child can use to climb from the pit of extreme poverty. And without us, a lot of the kids that you'll see on our website would never be going to school. Matter of fact, a lot of the girls would unfortunately be given to a life of prostitution at a very young age. You'd even call it maybe trafficked. You have young boys that would be doing petty crimes and other things that just to make a living. It's not a good world that these kids were born into, extreme poverty, where we're working at. And what we do every day is making a difference in their lives. And so as you go about your day today and you're thinking, maybe you're thinking you had a bad day, or maybe you're thinking of counting your blessings today, however you're approaching life, I'd like you to learn about some of the kids that we take care of at Rivers Promise, and just recognize that every gift that you give, whether you sponsor a child directly for $65 a month, go to the website, choose a child. You can sponsor an entire classroom. Maybe you just want to provide food. If you sponsor a child directly, you're providing their food and their education, their health care, insurance, you're helping them have food. But if you just want to help us with the food, that's our greatest need. We could use your help today. And make a donation if you would. Riverspromise.org. If you want to know more about the organization, go to the website. There's a mini documentary that's there that kind of shows the story of what Rivers Promise is. It's a promise that I made to my son. Would you consider a donation today? $9. We talk about protein. Kids need protein. These kids don't have food, and if they did, it was maybe some rice if they ever got that once a week. But now we're giving them protein every day, 2 meals a day, and that's $30 feeds a kid basically that's unsponsored, that in our school feeds them for a month. $30 can do that. So your help in doing that would be greatly appreciated. I'll break it down even more. $9 buys 30 eggs. That we can feed a classroom every day. The classrooms are getting some type of protein. Eggs are the most affordable type of protein we can provide them, and we're providing those on a daily basis, one classroom at a time. That's $9. And so you get the idea. Go to the website, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. This does not go into my pocket. It does not go to support staff here in America. We do not have fancy offices in America. We have an office that's a corner of my home, and wherever I meet maybe producer Chad to do some work at, we make an office there. So we don't have a U.S. overhead milking the money away. What you give today literally will be on the streets in Rwanda within a matter of hours or days, and helping the kids, and that's what it's all about. Go to the website, riverspromise.org, 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 and make a donation today. Learn more about what we do, and if nothing else, you can't make a donation, say a prayer for the kids and for the work that we do there, because I don't want to get into a sermon here, but the book of James says true religion is taking care of widows and orphans, not about having. I want you to go to church, all that stuff, but that's what true religion is, and we're taking care of some widows and some orphans, and that's what we do. All right, glad to have all of you here on the program. Thanks for tuning in today. I do appreciate it. It's time for the Stolen Memes section of the show, in which we go around the globe. We steal memes from around everywhere, and we just kind of put everything in perspective with the stolen memes. Here we go. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There's Gavin Newsom. California is nearly unaffordable for most people. I spent billions on homelessness only to make it worse. I can't read. I got a 960 on the SAT. Now vote for me for president. If you're watching this is everything that Gavin Newsom says. He morphs more and more into a clown show. And clown show is putting it politely. It usually would be called a crap show or something else. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Bill Clinton collected $12 million for his memoirs. Hillary got $8 million for hers. That's $20 million for the memories of two people who have for years repeatedly testified under oath that they can't remember anything. Yeah, that's true. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. There we go. There's our favorite hockey player and our favorite president right there. Fight, 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 wrapped up in the flag. God bless America. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Democrats are suddenly worried that Iranian terror sleeper cells will now attack the USA from within. These are the Democrats who let them all in under Joe Biden. The same Democrats who want you to be unarmed are now saying, we've attacked Iran. Iranian terror sleeper cells are going to wake up and attack us now. Well, we wouldn't have that problem if you hadn't let them in with your jackass policies. Yeah, that's why we don't give up our guns. Locked and loaded, baby. Ray asked a great question. Is there any way to help the kids receive street clothes? We don't take clothes over there because we buy everything local that we can. It's a great question. If you'd like to, it ranges between whether we're buying clothes for a girl or a boy. It's about $20 for a new pair of shoes. We always give new pair of shoes, 25 on average. Just depends on the market rate. And it's about $10 to $20. $25 for clothing. Just again, depends on the size and what we're buying. People have said, I've got hand-me-downs, want to send them. Well, first of all, the cost of shipping them and traveling with extra bags is awful. And one time we took a lot of stuff over there and literally drove a guy out of business because he had a local store and we should have bought from him and it would have been a lot cheaper, but we didn't. We brought it in from America, well-meaning as we were. It was school supplies. And we drove out the local business guy and hurt his business. So we do provide clothes. We help them with clothing, but we don't take clothing, but that's a donation. Just designate clothing. Every year we do a shoe drive. That's fine. Great question, Ray. Thank you. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here it is, Iran's new B-2 bomber. It's stealth. It's going to be a game changer. Look at that one. I hope to goodness that's real. I really hope that's real. By the way, that guy, if you're in Iran, sir, I wouldn't pretend to be in a plane right now. Now, the Air Force has crashed. We're all done. Get out of there. Pete Hegseth's looking for you right now. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Tim Walz complains that the U.S. has spent billions striking Iran. You know, the money could have funded a Leering Center for nearly a week. Yeah, I love it. These guys. We're spending billions of dollars on this. Yeah, attacking the radicals as opposed to funding the Somalia pirates in Minnesota. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. They say, listen to your body. Well, mine wants to quit my job, move to the beach, and live off chips, queso, and margaritas. So now what? So listen to my body. Well, my body says, sometimes it says drink more water. But a lot of times it says, I quit. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to eat chips, queso, and margaritas. It's a thought. Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Give up all this. There's the gong, my friends. It's the gong all the way from China. And that means we have stolen all the intellectual property that we are allowed to steal today because the Chinese, they're defending their own honor. They're not defending the Iranians, but they're saying, hey, don't steal any more intellectual property. All right, everybody, it's been a pleasure. Don't forget, if you missed a portion of the show, Kenneth Abramowitz was on earlier. Go back, listen to the podcast or rewatch the video because I know you like looking at me. And if you want to just hear me, you can listen to the podcast version. Apple, Spotify, like us anytime you like us on any platform. Listen to us on any platform. Give us a stream, play it in the background. It helps the algorithms, and we always appreciate that. Thousands of earballs will hear and or see this show by the end of the day, and by the end of the week, thousands of earballs will hear all of the shows that we do this week, and I appreciate you being a part of it, watching the live audience, and those listening later, Hello from the past. I hope you're doing well in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, we must depart ways, but I want to leave you again with the address to our charity website, riverspromise.org. Education's a ladder that a kid can climb out of an extreme pit of poverty, and you can help them today. Put some food in their tummies, some knowledge in their head, and the future will be brighter for these kids if you help out. riverspromise.org. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Happy Wednesday, hump day, halfway till Friday. May God bless you. May God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.